Oh, forgot my damn intro.
We weren't live just now, were we?
Yeah, we live.
Right now?
Yep.
Okay,
We
let's do
do
it then.
the. Let's do intro, transition. All right.
Oh, Shiva.
Do transition hat. All right. There was a scene that I wanted everybody to see, which is not playing right now for your boy. Regardless, we on. So fuck it. Thinking Out Loud podcast. It's your boy Jay Lip. TOLPcast.com is where you can find me and all the things that I am and that we are. I got special guests in the building. My wife, Mrs.LIP. Mrs.LIP, what's good, baby?
Hey, babe.
You know what? This shit is really fucking with me. The fact that this transition did not work. Oh, here we go.
What?
Oh, and we back, and we back, and we back,
Are you
and we
serious?
back, and we back. Yeah, that shit just started working. All
Okay.
right, so back to the business. Sorry about
Yeah.
that, y'all. Technical difficulties, which we will always have forever and a day. Um, yeah, let's do it. Deep dive. The topic tonight, let me make sure I don't spaz out on too much shit that we shouldn't, which is violence and humility from the black perspective. That's what I want to talk about. So, babe, are you familiar with the topic that's going on right now with the young man who was getting bullied and the father bought the young man who was bullying his own son a bunch of gear so he can get fresh and stop feeling so bullied in his own place of bullying ism? Have you heard of this?
I heard the broad strokes. Yes.
Okay. So, what is your perspective so we can set a baseline real quick before I
Well, from
go
what I
in?
understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, there was a young man about 8 years old who was being bullied. Father finds out, and instead of reprimanding the young man who was bullying his son, he chose to um, purchase him, take him out for what some are calling a shopping spree. I think was more of a teaching moment, and basically supplied this young man with some, tangible goods to try and reinforce that you are a worthy person. You don't need to be doing this. At least that's what I took from it. But everybody has
Well,
a different opinion on
well,
it.
well
I
let's
personally
let's let's
think.
slow it down for a second. We going 100 miles an hour. I want to also first and foremost give a shout out to my boy D Woods. Happy birthday, bro! I want to give another shout out. Happy birthday to my bro, my homie Marcus Mitchell. Tomorrow is his birthday, and then most importantly, I want to give a shout out to my nephews. I ain't even gonna say their name because I don't know how they mama feel about them being on social media like that. I think that she don't give a damn because she put the pictures everywhere. But
Sure.
regardless, Jeremiah and Judah,
So
happy
you did it anyway.
happy birthday, my nephews. 6 years. It's a beautiful time. What a time to be alive. So, with that being said, getting back to the story. So, young man gets bullied. Young man tells father. Young man's father goes to have a conversation with the parent of the bullier. The situation goes from there that the father finds out that the child, the family, whatever, is homeless. They living out of motels, not doing too good in life. You know what he says? I think he may need a little bit of male influence, a little bit of encouragement, self-esteem boost. So he takes him on a little shopping spree, gets him some nice gear. It's a beautiful thing. And he sets himself up in a way where he's almost a father figure to the bullier, who is now friends with the bullied. So now the two young men are friends, the new gear is acquired, and I want to know from you, where do you stand when it comes to, was this the right or wrong decision to make when it comes to your child being smacked up, beat up, neck in his back or back in his neck, yeah, foot on his neck and his back? We just assuming the worst right now.
Yeah, we are.
How are you feeling as far as is that the most appropriate way to address that situation?
I think compared against the alternative, which would be, reprimanding this young man and probably putting him squarely in a position that he feels in most of the time when he's at home or otherwise being bullied himself. I think this father did what he thought was best, and I agree with his decision. Now, the way that he carried it out, I don't know that I would do the same thing, but he came from a place of love and from compassion. He has an 8-year-old son himself, and I think he put himself in that young man's shoes once he understood his place in life. It clearly this young man is bullying because he has been bullied. Hurt people from every age. And I think he was coming from a place of compassion. I commend him for that. Not a lot of parents or fathers would do that.
Okay, so let's take that back one step. What would a lot of parents or fathers do, in your opinion? Black parents and black fathers.
Well, as the child of a
Say it,
black
say
father,
it, say it.
my guess would be my father's first inclination would be like, you don't let nobody hit you. We taught you different from that. Somebody puts their hands on you, you put your hands back. You're defending yourself. And that was always what I was taught growing up. That's always what I did. I didn't particularly get bullied, but I've been in my share of fights, and I ain't gonna let nobody whip my ass. I mean, that's just what I was taught.
Ooh,
Um,
okay.
but
Shout out to
but
Mama
times are
Jones and Mr.
different.
Jones.
They did a great job, and I think ultimately, I think my older brother saw a lot more of the brunt of bullying because he was different than the rest of our family. But even then, there were three of us. And my mom said one person gets in a fight, everybody gets in a fight. Like the dynamics of our family were you don't let anybody put your hands on you. You don't let nobody put your hands on your family. You're defending yourself. We were never taught you throw first blows, never taught that it was okay to be bullies, but we were taught that it's not okay to let somebody beat you up. That's
So,
also not cool.
so more
So,
so, y'all were taught to be defensive, right? Y'all the squad, y'all the
yes.
mosh pit. Like you touch one, you
Yep.
touch us all. We all putting
Always.
our foot on your neck.
If that's what it took. Yeah.
He's so nasty. That's fucked up. Just kids' feet on other kids' necks is just an ugly, ugly image.
Yep.
But it's what y'all
It
did.
is.
So with that being said, y'all had this mentality that was driven by how you were raised. Could you ever
Mm-hmm.
foresee your father taking the bully of your older brother or your younger brother and being like, talk to me, son, what's going on? Say, Dad, Billy keeps slapping me every day and he's taking the lunch money and I don't really know what to do. And your dad being like, you know what, let me go talk to Billy's parents to see what's going on. Find out that Billy is impoverished. Take Billy on a shopping spree and say, Billy, get your chest up. You're confident. You're a good kid. Like, could you see your father doing that?
I couldn't for a lot of reasons. I feel like when we were growing up, our parents didn't really get involved unless it was like drugs or weapons or something like that. My
What
parents
type of
didn't get
drugs did
called
y'all get
to
into?
schools. No, I'm saying like in schools, you never really saw people's parents didn't get involved in problems at schools. So I could never imagine my dad when I was growing up even getting access to the person who was bullying me because that's just not how schools worked when I was coming up. So
Okay.
the way that the school worked was your kid is acting up, they call the parents, they say, "Hey parent, work with your kid." It was never, "Hey, Mr. Jones, Tony's being bullied by Cynthia. You should go talk to Cynthia." Like it was never
Well,
that
first off,
was that I could never see that happen.
you should never be getting bullied by somebody named Cynthia. Your name's Tony,
Well,
Tony Jones. So,
yes,
I
yes.
mean, Cynthia should have got that ass whooped instantly. It should
She
have been a
would have.
1-2.
She would have. But I mean, also, I think we have to consider we grew up in a different time, just like our parents would say or our grandparents would say, times were different back then or whatever. Bullying was not a conversation. It was somebody's kid's an asshole or somebody's been putting their hands on my kid. It was never like bullying and how do we deal with bullying and how do we talk about bullying. I feel like this is just this conversation that's gotten so like muddy and cloudy and um everybody's like handling it with kid gloves. Kids aren't even
Explain that.
encouraged to handle it, which is not necessarily the right thing because the way we handle
Nah,
bullies,
say how
we
you
beat them up
feel.
too.
Say
We
how you
we beat
feel.
them up too because you had to make a stand. You had to say, look, I'm not for this shit. you're not going to put your hands on me. That's not to say that there weren't kids out there getting bullied, but I was just raised differently. I can't think of one time that I ever went back to my parents and said, Cynthia's hitting me. No, Cynthia not gonna be
Damn,
hitting me, and I'm
Cynthia's a
gonna be
bitch.
because if I let Cynthia hit me, come home and said something, I was almost threatening to get another ass beaten because I didn't handle my business myself.
Damn. Okay, Mama Jones, you was like that. You was giving it like that.
Yeah,
So I
we
gotta
got
ask
it.
you, what's damn? Okay, it sounds like we need to talk about some PTSD on a future episode.
Mhm.
Anxiety, but regardless. So I guess when you mention kid gloves, what are you referring to?
I feel like bullying has just become this natural conversation. Not that it shouldn't have been, but I feel like it's moving in this direction where it makes children immediately feel victimized. So anytime somebody says something nasty about you, anytime somebody puts their hands on you, you're a victim. You need to go tell somebody. Like it just, I feel like it conditions children to act like victims and not see that there are other alternatives for handling that situation. It's just X, Y, and Z is bullying me. Go fix that, adult or whatever. Um, and so
Is that
as far
like
as the
I'm gonna go tell mommy theory?
right, and I don't think it necessarily has to be like that. And I'm not saying that this kid should just immediately start hitting everybody who is a bully or anything like that, but just the mindset has shifted so much from when we were coming up in like the late 80s 90s to now. It's just complete, the victim mentality is just run rampant, I feel like.
Well, I also feel like too, we also we went through a period where we were taught not to put your hands on anybody unless they put their hands on you first. So
Right.
it was a defense mechanism. What I
Mm-hmm.
feel like is happening now is you're seeing a lot of the growth through that pre-adolescent period to the post-adolescent period where I think the kid gloves comment was great because I don't think that these kids really know what to do and how to handle their feelings when it comes to the adversity that life gives them. So
Yeah.
if you were always taught as a child, you know, kid gloves, helicopter parent type shit, like, don't just stay away from any altercation.
Yeah.
Then you get into an altercation. You in high school now. It's gonna be worse, and you don't know what to do. So you shoot up the school, or you ODing on drugs, or you sipping lean because you're trying to get out of this zone that you've been indoctrinated in, which is hands off, no altercation, no interaction that's violent. That's to me what we're seeing in this new generation where you got these kids. It's too much. It's too much of the media that's showing us these opioid addictions that happen between the ages of 16 and 24. You're seeing a lot of that. You're seeing a lot of drug usage, a lot of drinking, a lot of just self medication. And if it's not that, then you're seeing a lot of drill talk about how I'm gonna fuck this nigga up, and I'm a. It's just either utter violence, like
Yeah.
just pure rage,
Yeah.
or it's subsiding and being subsequently victim to your own upbringing. And what do you think
Just
about
ends up
that?
getting so blown out of proportion, unfortunately, because these kids don't know how to deal with their feelings, and they're taught repeatedly, I think, through the vernacular around this topic, that if this happens, this is a big deal. We can't let this happen. So it's like all of the emotions are very, very big. It's I'm a victim. I'm sad. I feel hurt. So I'm gonna go shoot up school. Or I'm gonna take these drugs. Or I'm gonna come to school with a knife next time, or whatever it is. Instead of like bullying starts somewhere, and it doesn't start with somebody shooting you first. It starts with them saying something nasty, or them taking your things, or them like flicking you, or whatever it is. And I feel like when they're that size, when these issues are that size, that's when it's a focus on nipping it in the bud. And I think the conversation ahead of time is, don't let anybody pick on you. If somebody puts their hands on you, you have the right to hit them back. You are then justified as a child or an adult, because that's not cool for somebody to put their hands on you. But the way that we blow up this conversation, I feel like gives children mixed messages, because now they think this is the worst thing that can happen to me, and now this is just the biggest problem of my life, and they just go in these deep
Yeah.
dark places.
And I think we could both agree that when you are in school, no matter what age, whether that be elementary, middle, or high school, you do feel like that's your world. You don't know
Hmm.
anything outside of that. So I think we talked about a situation previously where there was an individual who was getting bullied and he decided to put a lock in a sock and just beat the fuck out of the person who was bullying him. Now, he did not defend himself accordingly up until that point, but how do you describe those situations where people get to a state where they just have to definitively defend themselves slash exact some type of vengeance because I feel like emotionally they've been bubbling and boiling up with this anger in them and they don't know how to have a healthy outlet because they weren't taught from day one, don't let nobody put their hands on you. If they do, you handle it accordingly. But
Yeah.
if you don't have that, you might jump to the lock, you might jump to the
Hmm.
knife, you might jump to, unfortunately, the gun. You know, these trench
Hmm.
coat warriors that come into these schools and shoot somebody. I hate the fact that there is a actual culture of kids, and when I say kids, I mean high schoolers
Yeah.
that feel like the resolve of whatever they're going through is just to randomly shoot and kill individuals because of their own rage. Would they feel that rage? And now this is again, this is a conversation that's supposed to be focused on the black culture, but it's impacting the black culture because
Hmm.
it may not happen as directly as the media would cover it when you're not black, but we know that black people, black
And there
young
are black
people get
kids
shot.
seeing this. There's black kids seeing this, and black kids being impacted by it as well. So just because it's not happening now doesn't mean it's something that couldn't happen.
Correct. All right, so we agree that there's some type of mismessaging because you get told as a kid, hands off, don't, be gentle. If someone does something to you,
I mean,
tell the
you get to this
teacher.
point where you don't know what to do. You don't know what to do, whether
Great
it's a
point.
lock in a sock or you feel like you need to. Ultimately, this is stemming from the place of I've been pushed to this point and I need to do something. I need to make a statement so these people will back off.
I
And you
think
get pushed and pushed and pushed so hard that you don't know what else to do. And you just do the first thing that comes to mind,
not to
which is unfortunate because again that's a symptom of the situation getting so blown out of proportion because this person over here maybe doesn't know or can't the person who's a bully doesn't know or can't emotionally connect with another person enough to know when okay like I really like I should stop like this
yeah,
is
this
I
is
shouldn't be doing this in
excessive.
the first place
Yeah.
but now I really should stop because this person's about to fucking do
Right. I done beat your head to the white meat. Like it's time
right
to.
like I gotta
And
yeah.
I hate to quote it, but I ain't a killer, but don't push me. That to me resonates with what we're talking about right now because to me that's the same thing as what a younger person would say. Like, I don't really want to fuck with you. Don't fuck with me because I don't know what I'm gonna do if you keep fucking with me.
Yeah.
And you could make me a killer. Now, granted, there's some nuance there because I don't believe that anybody can make you anything, but
Right.
that's your own
Right.
personal choice. But still, the
But if
influence is
somebody's
there.
not equipped with the skills to deal with such a heightened emotion, then they feel like they're just having to figure it out on their own, and who knows where that can lead.
You know,
When
and
you're that frustrated and when you've been pushed that hard, I mean, who knows what you'll do?
I think that that's a great point, babe. And another thing that I like to think about in this type of conversation is the fact that what we see in the media as far as this mid range, so we've already addressed the youth and we've addressed the fact that there's mixed messaging there. However, when it comes to like the middle aged youth, I want to say again, like the 16 to 24-year-olds, you got the kids that's popping pills, you got the kids that's, sipping lean, blah blah blah, or you got the ones that's just going out and who ride and trying to get on whoever they can because they're trying to let out that aggression. I
Mm-hmm.
do feel like that those are two polar opposites of a spectrum. There's no middle ground there. Like there's no Here's how to deal with the feeling of frustration. Here's how to deal with the pressure cooker that I feel like I've developed into. And if you don't have anybody to talk to about it, or you don't have the self awareness, then
Mhm.
how are we expecting those individuals to handle said frustrating and aggressive situations?
I mean, God forbid it gets to the point where you literally have no one, no friends, no family, nobody at school to talk to.
I feel like
There
that's the
are,
problem. The friends, some of the friends are in the same situation.
sure. And I think, especially when you get to that age, like, later in middle school and high school, that influence from your friends is everything. What your parents say, what your teachers say goes one ear and out the other. You're listening to the media, you're listening to music, you're listening to your friends. If you don't have any of those positive influences, unfortunately, it can lead to a negative place. But in Did you lose me?
I did, but you back. Go ahead. Say what you
Okay.
just said.
I'm just saying, like, nobody wakes up one day and says, I'm going to get in with a bad crowd and I'm going to, start taking meth and living on the streets. Like, there's a series of events that leads up to those kinds of things. And there needs to be some kind of intervention before it gets there.
Well, let me.
And I hope there's at least some positive influence somewhere along the way. I mean, our paths are made up from so many kind of divergent situations lining up, that you'd hope at least in some point, they that something sinks through where the kids feel like they have some other out besides like depression and addiction and like violence and crime.
That's a great point. And then finally, I want to touch on this. So, we had a conversation recently about NBA game that occurred this weekend between the Houston Rockets and Los Angeles Lakers. Um, in those situations, well, in that situation in particular, an individual, a grown man, was spat upon. Is what the media is saying. The the truth behind that is debatable, but we'll go ahead and go with that. So he was spat upon, and in response to being spat upon, he mushed his opponent in the forehead, and then the opponent cold clocked that nigga. Like, he just straight up was like, "Yes, this is what I
Yeah.
want. This is the energy and the smoke that I want because I'm whatever, frustrated, I'm mad, whatever the situation is." It went from a spit to a mush to a cold clock to a undercut, and then a random nigga jumped in and just swung. Like, all of those things happening are acts of violence. So what I want to ask you is, how is it that we bridge the gap, or how did we get to this space where as adults it's been all over every media site that covers sports, even some that cover social issues when it comes to black people? How do we get to this space where we're almost thriving on the energy and the entertainment factor of seeing these grown men fight each other, yet we're teaching our kids not to fight and to be defensive? But there wasn't
Mhm.
shit defensive about getting spat on, because we look at that as being disrespectful and intolerable.
Pure
What do you
disrespect.
think?
Absolutely. I There's a really multi-dimensional situation because you've got the message of, well, if somebody hits you, you hit them back, and I don't, like, if somebody spit on me when I was a kid, I'm gonna hit them. You put something on me that wasn't on me before, and that's not cool. So yeah, I would see that the same as hitting, and I don't think a person is wrong. I think they're completely justified in responding to that physically because you did something physically to me and I'm responding in kind. Now, I feel like it's
Ah,
moved
that's a
into a
problem.
I
You,
agree.
you're
I
not being
Well,
defensive, you're being vengeful.
that's what I was just about to say because I feel like his response was, you disrespected me, so now I'm going to disrespect you. It's not me defending myself. It's not me trying to keep you from hitting me again. So you spit on me and now I mush you in the face because you're another grown man and nobody mushes a grown man in the face. Like, that's not cool.
Nope.
So, and he knew that. He knew exactly what he was doing. And he was provoking him further.
Yeah,
And that
we
piece,
didn't even hear
that
what was
piece is
said.
not
We probably
justified.
saw the spit, and he probably put his finger on his forehead and said, "Nigga, don't you ever do that shit again." And then
Right.
once that happened,
Yeah. Then it was a
blows.
brawl. It
Yeah,
was a
then
literal
it's let's
brawl on the
go.
floor.
It's like that's it almost makes me feel like that's what Rondo wanted. He wanted that smoke. Like you can't possibly tell me in this world that we live in that you can put saliva on another man unwarranted, respect to the LGBTQ community. You
Come on,
cannot,
bro.
I'm just saying you can't put saliva on another person and then without them unwarranted and not expect for them to be upset or
Of
feel
course.
disrespected.
Of
But the
course.
question comes
And in
back.
such a public forum, so these are all professional athletes. There are a million cameras, hundreds of thousands of fans watching. Um, you're not, like, all of your senses are heightened, and as a professional athlete, you already feel like you're in this place of like supreme pride. You're not going to let your pride be tested on national television. You're not going to do nothing. So it's just, it not only is it a level of disrespect that no man, no woman, no person should experience, but it's also in this very public forum. And just, you snap, and you have to respond. You feel like you have to respond.
So give me your hot takes real quick about how we bridge that gap from telling children don't fight to telling our young teens and young adults don't pop pills and don't kill each other, and then celebrating when we see NBA players brawl, when we see World Star Hip Hop video brawls, when we see all these YouTube brawls, and we look at it as entertainment. Because I had a conversation with my brother Levi earlier, and he said niggas love seeing fights. Like
They do.
that's what we
They do.
do. So where does that come from historically in your opinion? I want to hear what you think. Where does this come from?
I think it's biological. I think there's a release of hormones. It's exciting. It's exciting to see. That doesn't make it a good thing, but your pupils dilate, and your heart rate increases, your blood pressure rises. Like, it's exciting to see that. It's just as
Mm.
exciting to watch an actual game, or to watch a boxing match, or to see a fight right in front of your face. There's something exciting about it, and your body reacts. It emits hormones. That does not make it okay. That does not make it right. That does not mean those should be the highest rated videos on YouTube, or any other kind of public streaming service. But that's how our bodies work. And I think it's up
But
to us as
we have
individuals.
to have a better excuse than that's just how the way
No, I
we are.
completely agree. And just like I said, I don't think that makes it right. And we are individuals. We have, your body might react one particular way, but how you choose to react outwardly is completely up to you. So a lot of stuff could be going on the inside, but if you choose to continue to indulge in that kind of media, or to share it, or to, give the implication that that's okay, and that's something that excites you and is fun for you, then that's a choice that you're making. And that's also not right. So when it comes to the influence that we're making to children, being a good role model happens on the individual level.
Mm.
So you shouldn't have
Okay.
spit first. You shouldn't have mushed him in the face, per se. And there shouldn't have been an uppercut. And then the dude that came from half court all the way across came in arm swinging. He shouldn't have did
Ingram, bitch ass.
that either. So it was wrong on many, many, many counts. And I do not agree that you should, have to turn the other cheek when somebody wrongs you. But in that moment, you had a decision to make. You had an opportunity to do something different, and you didn't.
So, just so I'm clear, you're saying that it's within us, for some reason, innately in us as black people, that we enjoy
Not just
violence.
Black people, as people in general, and not just
And that could
violence.
be
I
true
think it's
because
excitement.
you're right, because we watch boxing, we being
Right.
people, we watch
Boxing,
boxing,
MMA,
MMA. You're right.
football, even everybody gets excited with the hits. Like, it's
And they hate the fact that they're taking away the hits off the quarterbacks. They hate the fact that the NBA has turned into the Euro League when it comes to catering to
because those are the
shooters.
things that excite. Those are the things that excite people,
We
and
got to
it's genetics, it's biology.
we got to come back. We got to have this conversation again on a deeper dive, but more so when something else happens. So for right now, I think we've covered all we need to cover tonight. Please, please tell them what's going on in about 20 minutes.
So I don't think I've done a live with you since I started my new Facebook group, TOIC Makers. So I no longer do my lives on Instagram. I do them on Facebook inside my group, TOIC Makers. And tonight I'm going to be recapping what it's been like after one full year as a stay-at-home full-time entrepreneur.
Well, you've been doing a great job, in my opinion. Please give them all your socials real quick.
At TO Yarn Crafts everywhere.
Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
Instagram, not Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, TOICblog.com, TOIC Makers Facebook group.
And this is catered to an audience of people who are creatives, correct?
Yep, creative entrepreneurs of any kind.
All right. Well, with that being said, I think we did the goddamn thing. So,
I think we did.
all right. Well, Mrs. Lip, we appreciate you. Want to give you some time to get your prep in. Besides that, is there anything else you want to say before we sign off?
I'm really sad that On the Run 2 tour is over, but I hope that means something exciting is coming. I hope.
That's what you took your last statement to say.
Oh, always. B will always get the last word from me. Just be prepared.
All right, TOL Podcast, TOLpodcast.com. It's your boy Jay Lip. You know what this is. You know who I am. Thinking out loud. And we out.
Be
Let me
out.
now. Hopefully this transition works. Oh yeah, it worked. And we back, and we back, and we back, and we back, and we gone, bitch.
Okay.